Morning, everyone. It's Sunday, December 29th. It's time to look back and look ahead, so let's go on the record. The year in politics, dominated by President Donald Trump, how the impeachment fight that defined 2019 will become the opening election salvo in the cycle of 2020.
2020 is not just about the next 4 years or the next 8 years. This is about the direction our country takes.
The senior senator from Massachusetts pushing to become the Democratic presidential nominee, but is America ready for a seismic shift to the left? And a clash of generations and political legacies. Ed Markey and Joe Kennedy in a heavyweight Senate fight for the ages. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OTR for the last time in 2019. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter, Janet Wu, and we're going to make a break from our traditional format this morning. Rather than welcoming a guest at this moment, we have gathered our Genius Sunday Roundtable to talk about what we have seen in 2019 and how that can play in 2020. You know their faces, but allow me to introduce them, please. Joining us, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Great to have you with us, guys. We greatly appreciate kicking off the way we're going to do it this morning. So we have to start with the U.S. Senate. And there is little doubt as to what will happen, but with no conviction of President Trump. And Marianne, let me start with you. Do you realistically think that there will be a fallout for Republicans in November?
Well, I'm not so certain that there's no chance that Trump gets removed. The more that this looks like a trial, the more likely it is that there will be a price paid by Republicans. So if Republicans are going to vote to undermine democracy, then the very election they're standing for, they could get undermined by getting voted out of office. Remember, 20 Republican senators are up for re-election, including Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. McConnell's favorability rating in Kentucky, 18%. So the longer this trial goes on and the more that gets revealed about Donald Trump and they defend him, the tougher it is for them to get reelected.
I think there's actually more like a handful of Republicans who could have trouble over this in the election. But at 53-47 in terms of the Republican majority, it only takes a handful. So there certainly are going to be major political repercussions. The question to look at is if Republicans think they're in danger of losing the majority, will they decide to throw Trump overboard? The early indications from McConnell are no, they're sticking with him strongly, but they could change their mind if they're in danger.
Do you think the Senate Republicans are really worried about that? Do you think, or is that sort of like in the way back?
Well, Mitch McConnell does not want to be the minority leader of the Senate. No question about that. I don't think they're worried yet, but a month from now, we'll see.
Well, and Susan Collins would be more than disappointed if she lost, okay? So there, at least to Rob's point, of 20, the top 10 and 5 in particular, remember, it only takes 51 votes to change any of those rules in the Senate during this impeachment trial, removal trial, and there are 48 Democrats. Not that hard.
We also have to talk about election security at this point. Russia was a dominant force in 2016, with Facebook and other social media refusing to monitor its ads and contact for facts. How optimistic should voters be in 2020, Rob?
I think not very. I mean, it's digital whack-a-mole, all these,
great line.
Fake sites, fake advertising. It's not just the Russians, it's the North Koreans, it's the Chinese. They're trying to spread division between Americans more than they're trying to influence the election. But you have to say it worked. It's worked for them for the last 4 years, unfortunately, and they're going to try it again.
But beware, bottom line, right, for everybody that's out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with Rob. The fact is, nothing's been done to secure our elections, nothing at all since 2016. The Russians are still in our systems. Other people are probably there. There are 2 pieces of legislation that passed the House that would protect our elections across the country in every state. Yet Mitch McConnell won't bring them to a vote. That's why he has the nickname Moscow Mitch, because he won't defend our election system. And by the way, he took an aluminum factory from Oleg Deripaska, which just adds to his Russian credentials. So my only concern about the 2020 election is election security, because if it's on the up and up, Democrats win the White House, Senate, and House.
I'm more worried about the propaganda than the security. I think our systems are pretty secure. Thank goodness, post-Bush-Gore recount, we didn't go to electronic balloting. Remember, everybody said hanging chads are bad, paper ballots are bad. Right. Luckily, we didn't do that, so I think we're okay there. But the propaganda is
Bill
bad.
Galvin claims that Massachusetts is safe and secure, and the voting system is fine. Are you confident?
I believe it.
You believe it?
Yeah, I do.
You believe it?
Do you believe it?
No one's safe. You're asking, there are clerks across Massachusetts, out in the 413 and elsewhere, in rural towns whose offices are in their homes. You're asking these rural clerks to fight Russia. You're asking the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to fight Russia, bots, and other fake, deep fake videos. No one can do that on their own. That's why it requires a national approach.
So Massachusetts has never shied away from offering candidates for president. But this year we have not one, not two, but three presidential candidates in the race. Republican Bill Weld, who was our guest last week, Elizabeth Warren, and the recently announced Deval Patrick, former governor. So give us a brief assessment of where they stand at this particular time. Rob?
I'd say Deval Patrick's a long shot. Bill Weld's a moonshot. I love the guy, but that's the reality.
You used to work for him.
Yes, I did. And Elizabeth Warren's in the game, but it'll be decided in the fourth quarter.
Do you agree with Rob on that one, Marianne?
Weld can write a book about green rooms and cable networks across the country and diners in New Hampshire. He won't get any delegates, but his analysis of Trump has been spot on. Elizabeth Warren, tough month or so. She's still in the hunt. I still think she can win the nomination, but she needs to pick it up pretty quickly. Deval Patrick running as a savior, but he'll end up being a spoiler, and I think that's his real role here. Will he be a VP candidate for someone like Joe Biden?
Will he hurt Elizabeth Warren, you
He's
think?
going to try.
Maybe that's why he got in the first place, to try and be a VP.
Wouldn't a Weld-Trump debate just be delicious?
Oh, of course. Rob and I have spent years on those debates with
yeah.
Weld and other things.
I hope it happens.
Yeah,
I hope it happens. But unfortunately, a lot of Republican parties are being patsies for Trump. They should be having an open debate with Weld and any other Republican candidates.
Though Trump is saying he won't do the presidential debates in the fall, whoever the nominee is either.
Well, let's move on to Super Tuesday. I'm wondering if the landscape itself is shifting here, because Super Tuesday promises to be a bigger powerhouse than ever before, mostly because California, with nearly, 500 Democratic delegates, will win in for the first time so early. So is this a warning to New Hampshire's prestige as the first in the nation primary?
No, I don't think so. I mean, New Hampshire was never about delegates, ever, but it's all about vetting the candidates. And that's when the country really comes to trust New Hampshire to tell them who these people are, because it always foreshadows what kind of president they will be. And I think that's an important role. Of the 20 states in the Super Tuesday, hardly anyone is going to meet any of these candidates. There'll be plenty of TV ads, but they're never going to meet a candidate, and that's what New Hampshire's all about.
We're closing in on it, especially, obviously Iowa's in front of it, but we're 40, 45 days or so, 50 days away.
Iowa, 39 days.
Yeah, so we're locking down.
I mean, winning breeds winning in presidential. And so how it looks now is not how it's going to look after Iowa, because when you win, it brings you a star factor. So Iowa and New Hampshire still matter. 7 of the last 8 nominees in both parties also won New Hampshire.
But you've got 2 candidates who are basically spending all their money on ads. Bloomberg is skipping all the initial. He's going right straight for Super Tuesday. What do you predict could happen there? I mean, will it pay off for him? And heaven knows he's paying a lot for it.
Well, look, Bloomberg's paying, buying ads here. And he's doing it to influence the outcome of New Hampshire and other places, because he's trying to hurt everyone in front of him to help himself on Super Tuesday. I don't believe that strategy is going to work in the end. He certainly has made up some points by all the money he spent, unlike Tom Steyer. But in the end, people want you to go through the entire contest and prove your worthiness, because you could be the next president of the United States.
Do you agree with her on that, or do you think things could be changing?
I'm not sure. It's never been tested. Rudy Giuliani said, wait for Florida, and then his campaign was over by the time it got to Florida.
Right.
The difference with Michael Bloomberg is billions of dollars, and he's at 5% in the national polls, the tens of millions that he spent so far. If he puts a couple $100 million into Super Tuesday states, who the heck knows? I think it's unlikely, but it wouldn't shock me.
So let me just use the wide and wild idea of the Super Tuesday is what, 20 states are involved or so in Super Tuesday?
Roughly, and there's a couple of territories
and
involved,
territories involved too. Are we ever going to get in our lifetime to a national primary day, for example, like Labor Day or something like that, one day, since there are, I don't know, almost 40% of them on one day already? Will we ever get to 100% of them on one day? You're shaking your head no.
I don't think so, because I think people want to test the candidates. And this
but
is
doesn't
a
it go on too long?
Marathon. No, in many cases it doesn't go on long enough, because people don't start paying attention until New Hampshire. Whoever the winners and losers are in New Hampshire, that's when the country sits up and says, oh, Why did you lose? Why did you win? And then it goes on from there. So if you want to be president of the United States, the toughest job in the world, absent the current occupant, the fact is people want to test you. And even Trump went through the process. He went through, he was in Iowa, New Hampshire, all of that. So you need to go through the process. You need not to shortchange it, because it says a lot about you and what kind of president you would make.
Remember, when it gets to the general election, we don't have a national election. We have 50 separate state elections. So we're going to continue to have 50 different state primaries, and those states are going to decide when to go in terms of how it advantages them.
And quite frankly, each party wants the money. And the best way to get money is to have a longer primary season.
And a long process gives us better nominees and candidates, I believe.
And lots of TV ads here.
We like the TV ads.
And speaking of TV ads, we have to take a break and we have to show you some. So when we come back, a Senate race for the ages, how the clash between Ed Markey and Joe Kennedy will redefine politics in Massachusetts in the coming years. Stay with us.